and welcome to Learn Yourself. Today we are going to study about matter in our surrounding. This topic is under CBSE Standard 9 syllabus. So let us get an overview of a chapter, that what are things we are going to study in this chapter. So in general we are studying about the matter. So it's what is a matter first of all, then all the physical properties of matter we are going to study in this chapter. Then its physical nature, its characteristic properties. Then three states of matter: solid, liquid and gas. Their particle arrangement, the attraction between the particle, and if they are possessing some kind of properties, then why. So all these things we are going to study under this states of matter. Then changing of states because of the temperature. Interconversion of state. If the solid is there, it is converting into liquid, liquid is converting into gas. And then last, evaporation and the factor of affecting evaporation. So all these things we are going to study in this chapter, and along with all these properties, all these behavior properties of states, we are going to study their reasons. So let us start with the first thing, that what is a matter and physical properties of matter. So let us understand first what is a matter. So what is a matter? Which occupies space and has a mass is called matter. Anything which occupies space, it requires space and it has a mass, it has a weight in it, then we call it a matter. It can be air also. When air we are filling into a balloon, then balloon occupies space and yes, it has a mass. We have learnt one experiment in standard 8, that a balloon filled with air has a mass compared to a balloon which doesn't have air in it. So air also occupies space and it has a mass. Liquid also occupies space and it has a mass. And solid obviously occupies space and it has a mass in it. So the matter is which occupies space and has a mass. Then we are going to study a physical nature of matter. In this we are going to study 2 points. First point is, matter is made up of particles. So with the help of one experiment we will learn that yes, matter is made up of particles. So let us first learn this, that how the matter is made up of particle, and if yes, then let us see this experiment. I have taken here a water in a beaker. Now into this water I am adding a salt. So salt is here at the bottom of the beaker. It has not mixed with the water. It is just lying down in the water. When I am stirring it, then this salt is mixing with the water. So now this liquid is with salt and water. Now we will not be able to see where the salt is. So I can say that salt has occupied space in between the particles of water. We all know that in liquid there is a space between two particles. Suppose if this is a liquid state, right? If this is a liquid state, then there is a space in between them. So whatever salt I am adding into it, that salt will occupy space in between the liquid molecule. So yes, Matter is made up of particle and those particles have space in between them. So whenever we are adding a salt into a water, the salt particle will take a place in between the water molecule and they will make a homogeneous solution. So our first physical nature of matter is made up of particles. Now let us going to study the second one, that particles are really small. Coming to our second point, that particles of matter are small. So in this point we are going to prove that particles of matter are really small, and that too they are beyond our imagination. So in this we are going to prove that particles are small with the help of this experiment. So in this I have taken a small crystal of potassium permanganate and that I have dissolved in the 100 ml of water. From that I am taking a 10 ml of solution. Whenever I am dissolving potassium permanganate, then that solution will become dark pink to pink color. Now from that I am taking a 10 ml of solution and adding to another beaker containing 100 ml of water solution without any solute. So whenever I am adding that, it imparts some color. So it will be least pink compared to the first beaker, but it will impart a color. Now from that second beaker again I am taking a 10 ml and adding to another beaker which consists of 100 ml water. Now if I will keep on doing like this, then also this dissolution will not affect the pink color. It will give pink color in each and every dissolution. So this shows that particles of matter are really small. Even after 5th and 6th dissolution you can see a pink color in our beaker. So particles of matter are really small, and that too they are beyond our imagination. Characteristic of particles of matter. So in this we are going to study 3 characteristics of particles of matter. Before we study that, let us understand the particle arrangement, the space between the particles, particle attraction and energy possessed by the particles. This we have already studied in standard 8. This is just a revision. It will be helpful for us to understand all the 3 characteristics for particle of matter. So the particle arrangement. So here these are the 3 states of matter: solid, liquid and gas. We know that the particle arrangement in all the 3 states are different. So in solid it is going to be a tightly packed structure that molecules cannot move, it can only vibrate at their own position. So the particle arrangement is compact and tightly packed. So solids are always tightly packed. Then liquid. The liquid are little bit free compared to solid. They are little bit free compared to solid. That means they have space in between them. They have space between their particles. And this space is more than solid, but this space is less than gas, because in gaseous state atoms are freely moving. The space is maximum. In gaseous state the space is maximum in between the particles. So in the liquid is in between. The space is more than solid, but it is less than gas. where gaseous particles are having maximum space in between them. So here we can say that the space between the particle is least because they are tightly packed. Now in the liquid the space is more than solid but less than gas, whereas the gaseous particles are having maximum space in between their particles. Now coming to the attraction. Where they are tightly packed, the attraction is maximum in between them. So solid particles are having maximum attraction in between them, whereas in the liquid it is less than solid but more than gas. So they are observing less force of attraction in between their particles, and whereas here the force of attraction is least. Now energy of particles. Here they do not have space to move. They only vibrate at their position. So their energy of particle is least. They cannot move. So their energy is least compared to this two. Whereas in the liquid they have energy more than solids and they can flow. The liquids can flow and they have energy in their particles, and here the energy is maximum and they are free and they can move randomly. They can vibrate only at their position. They have more energy compared to solids. They can flow. That's why they are also known as fluids. Whereas in the gaseous state, they have maximum energy and they can move randomly. So this is the basic difference between the three states of matter. That solid, they are tightly packed, maximum attraction and energy is least. The liquid comparatively loose compared to solid but packed compared to gas. So solids are in between, liquids are in between solid and gas. Whereas in the gaseous the space are maximum, the energy is maximum and space is maximum and the attraction is least in between them. Now let us learn characteristic of particles of matter. There are three main characteristics of particles of matter. First is particles of matter have space between them. Then second, particles are in continuous motion. Then third is particle of matter attract each other. Let us understand all one by one. So first is particle of matter. So we are talking about all the three states of matter, that solid, liquid and gas. All this matter are having space between them. So these particles are having space between them. We saw that in the characteristic that solid have space in between them, but it is very negligible. Liquid do have space and gaseous atoms are having maximum space in between them. So how can we give one example for that? So example is, for example, we can say lemonade. When we are making a lemonade, in the water we are squeezing lemon, we are adding sugar, we are adding salt, but all these particles will occupy space in the water. In between the water particle, all these three particles will also occupy their space. So for example, lemonade. So all those particles will equally mix with each other. When they can mix with each other so nicely, they must have space in between them. Then only they can mix with each other nicely. Now second, particles are in continuous motion. So first thing, particles of any matter possesses energy. We call it kinetic energy. So in the form of kinetic energy, all the particles of matter possesses energy. This energy will become higher when we are adding temperature, or with the temperature effect, this energy will become higher. We have a water, and if we will boil it, then the water molecules will randomly move and the energy of water molecule will increase. As we are increasing temperature, the energy of molecule will increase. So the example for this is incense stick. When we are lighting an incense stick, we can smell it from one place to another. So this smell of incense stick will move away or move along with the air particles. It is mixing with the air particles, and the air particles are in continuous motion. Also the particles, the smell particle of incense stick move along with that. So we can smell the incense stick from one place to other place. So particles are in continuous motion. One more important thing here is diffusion. What is diffusion is when one kind of particle will mix with another. That means if the one state, the particle of one state will mix with the other state's particle, that is called diffusion. For example, water vapor. When water is boiling, this vapor is going and mixing with air. This water is liquid, but it is mixing with air. This is liquid, this is gaseous. So one state's particle is mixing with another state's particle. So this process is known as diffusion. So this is a definition of diffusion. So here in the second point, we have seen that yes, particles are in continuous motion. For example, incense stick, then the particle possesses kinetic energy, and the kinetic energy will become higher as we will apply the temperature to it. The energy will increase. And then diffusion. What is a diffusion? When the particle of one state will mix with the other state's particle. It is called a diffusion. Then third, particles of matter attract each other. For example, if we will take pencil or chalk stick or duster. So these particles are having force of attraction in between them. Earlier we have seen in their characteristic that solid will have a strong force of attraction, liquid will have little bit lesser than that, and gaseous will have least force of attraction. But all the states of matter will have attraction in between their particles. So because of this force of attraction, all the particles are tightly held together and they attract each other. So what is the reason they attract each other? Because of the force of attraction, they will attract each other. So these are three characteristics of particle of matter. First one is particle of matter have space between them. Example is lemonade. Second, particles are in continuous motion. For example, incense stick, or you can also say when we are adding a drop of ink into a water, it will move along with all the particles and settle down and also spread throughout the water. Then in that we have learned a diffusion. The definition of diffusion is one state's particle will mix with another state's particle is known as diffusion. Then third one is particle of matter attract each other. Why? Because they held together because of the force of attraction. So that's why they attract each other. Three different states of matter and their characteristic about shape, volume, rigidness, compressibility and so many more things. So let us first understand that how solid will behave for their shape, volume, compressibility and rigidness. All this characteristic is basically depending upon how much space is there in between two particles of solid, and similarly for liquid and gas. How much space is there in interparticle of matter, how much attraction they are observing in between the two particles. All these things do matter when we are talking about their shape, volume and compressibility. So let us recall our previous knowledge and define this. So solid, when we are talking about shape. So now I am going to take the shape first for the solid, liquid and gas. So we will get comparison also that why solid is like this, why liquid is like this. If you have any doubt regarding the structure of solid, liquid and gas, their interparticulate space, their force of attraction, then please do check my previous video and the link has been given in the description. So first we are talking about the shape. So for solid, the shape is definite. Definite means a fixed shape and we cannot change it. For example, marker, a scale, a pencil, you cannot change a shape. We are not talking about the breaking a thing. So they have a definite and fixed shape. Then about liquid. Liquid do not have any fixed shape because in whatever bottle or vessel we will fill the liquid, it will take the shape of that vessel or that bottle. So they do not have fixed shape. Then gas. Obviously gas also do not have fixed shape. Then we are talking about volume. Volume means the space occupied by a matter. So yes, solid has a definite shape, solid has a definite volume. Then we are talking about liquid. Liquid do have definite volume. Why? Because if there is a 500 ml of liquid, then you cannot accommodate that into 200 ml of bottle. You need to have 500 ml and it will occupy space. So that means it has a definite volume. But gas, it doesn't have definite volume because you can compress it. When you are filling air into a balloon, you can compress the balloon, right? Not more than one extent, but yes, we can compress, so we can change its volume. So it doesn't have fixed volume. Now compressibility. Compressibility means if you are applying pressure, then it will become compact or not. So compressibility, no. Solid cannot be compressible because there is no space. How and why we can compress a matter? If there is a space between two particles, then only we can compress. If there is a space, for example, these are the particles, there is a space in between them. So they can come together when you are applying a pressure. But if there is a no space, for example solid, there is no space in between them. So there is no compressibility. A little space is there, so there is a little compressibility in liquid. But gaseous atoms are maximum compressible because they have maximum space in between them. Then we are talking about rigidness. What is the meaning of rigidness? when you are applying a pressure more than one extent, they will break. They will tend to break. So yes, they are rigid. If you will bend a pencil, after some extent it will break. So solid are rigid. Liquid, they are not rigid because they are compressible. And gaseous, definitely no, they are not at all rigid. So all this specific characteristic based on the shape, volume, compressibility and rigidness will be helpful for us in giving the answers for the reason. Now going towards our next topic, in which we are discussing solid, liquid and gas separately. We will talk about some exceptional cases like rubber band, sponge and all. So stay tuned. If you feel that this video is helpful in your learning and it has cleared your doubt, please give us a like. If you have any doubt, please share with us in a comment box and don't forget to subscribe. So let us first talk about solid. We have seen that it has fixed shape, fixed volume, they are rigid and they are non-compressible. Now we are talking about some exceptional cases, that is rubber band, crystal of sugar and sponge. So let us discuss one by one. So first we are discussing rubber band. So rubber band has elasticity. So whenever we are stretching it, we are applying force on it, it will extend. So can we say that even though the rubber band is a solid, it doesn't have fixed shape? No, it has a fixed shape because we know that this happens because of the elasticity remain into the rubber band. When we are applying the pressure, under the force of pressure, it may extend. But whenever we are removing a force, it will regain its shape. So rubber band is a solid and it has a fixed shape. Now second, crystal of sugar. Whenever we are filling a certain amount of sugar in a vessel, it will take a shape of vessel. The crystal of sugar is in the shape of cube and it will remain same after we are filling into a specific jar or a vessel. It won't change. So crystal of sugar are solid, they have fixed shape, they have fixed volume. Even though we can feel whenever we are seeing a jar of sugar that if it is a glass jar, then we can see that sugar has taken a shape of that glass jar. But in reality, it is not so that. Now we are talking about sponge. We all know that whenever we are compressing a sponge, then it will change a shape because there will be minute holes into a sponge. There is a gap in the sponge. So whenever we are applying a pressure, whenever we are compressing it, the air which is trapped in between those holes will come out. So we can compress it. After removal of the force, it will regain its original shape. So all this, at certain point of time we are feeling that they are changing its shape, but in reality no, they are not changing its shape. So all these are exceptional cases of solids which we feel that they might change their shape under special circumstances or while we are applying force. But after removal of force, they will regain its original shape. That will happen in the case of rubber band and sponge. And crystal of sugar, the original shape of sugar is cube and it won't change even after we are filling it into the vessel. So we cannot really say that they are changing its shape. Now we are talking about liquids. So we have seen that they do not have fixed shape, but they do have fixed volume. They are little compressible and they are non-rigid. So these are the characteristic property of liquids. Now we are discussing some special characteristic of liquid, that they can flow. So that's why they known as fluids. They are known as fluids because they can flow. Now we know that solids are tightly packed structures and gaseous are very free. Gaseous atoms are very free, that too they can move randomly. So the liquids are in between. They can flow. So that's why they are known as fluids. All the liquids are fluids. Now solid, liquid and gases can diffuse into liquid. We have seen this. What is the meaning of diffusion? Diffusion is one state's particle is mixing with another state's particle. That means if water is boiling, then this vapor is mixing with air. So water vapor is mixing with air. These are gaseous atom and these are liquid atoms. So they both are mixing. So this is known as diffusion. We have discussed this in my earlier video. I have given the link of that video in my description. So if you have any doubt regarding diffusion, please look into that. So this is diffusion. So solid, liquid, gases can diffuse into liquid. Now the most important characteristic of liquid is they do have spaces in between their particles. So if anything has to mix into another state, then it requires some space to fit into that. Earlier we have discussed the example of lemonade, that in water we are mixing sugar, salt, lemon, all these things we can add into a water and it is mixing well. Why? Because there is a gap in between water molecules, water particles. So all these particles, salt, sugar and lemon, will fit into those gaps. So what is the important thing here is it requires some space. Diffusion requires space in between the molecules. That means diffusion will be at a higher rate if the space is maximum. So in gaseous atoms, one gas will diffuse with another gas at maximum rate, with maximum speed, because they are having maximum space in between them. So solid, liquid and gas, all the three states can diffuse into liquid. You can dissolve solid into liquid, one liquid can mix into another liquid, then the gas can diffuse into a water. What is an example of that? That oxygen, atmospheric oxygen can dissolve into a water. This is the reason why that aquatic animal do survive underwater. Which oxygen they are using for breathing? The dissolved oxygen. And how that oxygen has been dissolved into that? From the atmosphere. So, and which characteristic of water will help oxygen to dissolve into that? That intermolecular space between the particle, and that process is known as diffusion. So atmospheric oxygen diffuses into a water and aquatic animals take that oxygen for their survival. So because of this diffusion process of oxygen, atmospheric oxygen to a water, so that oxygen is available for aquatic animals. Now rate of diffusion of liquid is higher compared to rate of diffusion of solid. Obviously, because in between solid particles there is no gap, there is no space. If another particle wants to come and fit into that, there has to be some space, but there is no space. So, but in the liquid there is a space. So the rate of diffusion in liquid is higher compared to rate of diffusion of solid. So here all the three states can diffuse into liquid. Then atmospheric oxygen is diffusing into a water so that aquatic animal can breathe that oxygen, and rate of diffusion of liquid is higher than that of the rate of diffusion of solid. These are the three important points in liquid state. Let us now talk about gaseous state. Earlier we have seen that it doesn't have fixed shape, doesn't have fixed volume, but they are highly compressible and they are non-rigid. So first we are talking about its compressibility. Earlier we have discussed in case of solid and liquid that solid are very less compressible, actually they are non-compressible, but liquid you can compress it, but gaseous atoms are highly compressible compared to liquid and solid. So the gases like which we are using, that is LPG, liquefied petroleum gas, and CNG, that is compressed natural gas. This kind of gases we can compress with high pressure and then we can fill it in a container. So the large volume of gas with the compressibility, by use of their high compressibility we are applying pressure, and high volume of gas we are making it minimal, and so that the transportation of those gases into a cylinder is very easy, because large volume we can fit into a small cylinder. So the large volume of gas can be compressed and fit into a small cylinder, and it make a transportation of this cylinder very easy. So which two gases we are maximum uses nowadays, that is LPG and CNG. LPG's full form is liquefied petroleum gas, the gas which we are using for cooking. Then CNG, that is compressed natural gas, which we are using in the transportation vehicle. Now the second point is hot cooked food which we can smell very easily. When our mother is cooking something in the kitchen, that food's aroma we can smell in another room or outside the kitchen, and that smell is coming instantly and it is very easy to reach till us. Why? Because the gaseous particles are moving randomly and they are in their highest energy level. So the aroma is coming along with the air particles, air molecules, and it will reach till us. Then gases diffuses at faster rate. Compared to solid and liquid, gaseous atoms have maximum space in between them. So gaseous atom will diffuse at maximum rate. Now we are talking about that the gaseous atom also can exert a pressure. For example, one balloon. We have filled that balloon with some air. As we are applying some pressure, it will changes its shape because it is compressible. But after some extent, if we are still applying some more pressure, then it will burst. Why that happened? Because the gaseous molecules are in a random movement and they will hit each other. While they are doing this random movement, they will hit each other with some force, and from there they will hit here, and then again they will travel to another gas atom, and there they will collide with each other, and they will exert some pressure onto each other. And when the same thing happens to the wall of the container, when they are collide with the wall of the container, they are exerting the same pressure to wall. So when we are applying so much pressure on the balloon, that movement becomes faster and more number of atoms, more number of gaseous particles will collide with the balloon wall, and that pressure balloon wall will not take it easily, its elasticity will not take up that much pressure, so it will burst out. So this pressure exerted by gas and that particles is per unit area on the container. We are counting that is per unit area, it is exerting this much force. So whenever we are filling any particular gas into a cylinder, we need to know, or we need to calculate that how much pressure it will exerted on the wall. Accordingly, we have to make that cylinder or that vessel that much thick. The wall of the container or the wall of the cylinder has to be that much thick. So it can withstand with this pressure of the gas. So it is very important that the pressure exerted by gas particle is per unit area on the wall of container. They are also exerting some pressure on the wall. So here the 4 points are important, that large volume of gas can be compressible, then hot cooked food aroma can reach till us within seconds or very easily, then gases diffuses at faster rate compared to solid and liquid. Then they are having random movement, they also exert some pressure on the wall of the container or in which you are filling into it. So we all know that there are 3 states of matter: solid, liquid and gas. They all can change in each other by changing temperature and by changing pressure. So in this video we are going to discuss about that how the one state can convert into another by the application of heat or by the application of pressure. So first of all, matter can change its state by changing temperature. That means we can rise the temperature or we can lower down the temperature. By doing both, the matter will change its state. Regarding pressure, it's the same, that by applying pressure, by giving pressure or by taking out a pressure or by removal of the pressure, we can change the state. That we will discuss, the both effect we will discuss in detail. We all know that solid. Here we are going to take one example of ice. As a liquid we are going to take water, and as a gas let us take steam or vapor. So when solid is converting into liquid, we have to give heat. So by rising temperature, by giving temperature, the ice will change into water. Now water will change into vapor one more time when we are giving some more heat. Then when the reverse thing will happen, when the gas, the vapor will cool down, it will become a liquid. Then liquid will cool down and it will become solid. That means when temperature is rising, the ice will become water. When temperature is rising, the water will become vapor. By increasing temperature, this change will happen. Now by decreasing temperature, the temperature will decrease and vapor will become liquid water. Now temperature will decrease and liquid water will become solid. So this will happen because the increasing of temperature and decreasing of temperature. The same thing understand with the help of carbon dioxide gas. By giving a pressure, it will converting into a solid, and by removing a pressure, it will again change it to gas. So these two changes we are discussing in detail. So we all know that interconversion of state of matter is like this, that solid will convert into liquid, liquid will convert into gas, and sometimes solid will directly convert into gas, and interchanging of this also is possible. That ice can be water, water will become ice, and so on. So this is known as interconversion of states of matter. Now we are talking about when solid is converting into liquid. So you please put an example in your mind that ice is converting into water. We are talking about that phenomenon. That when ice is converting into water, what will happen and how it will happen. How it will happen we'll discuss first. That this is ice and we are heating it. So we are giving energy We are giving energy and its temperature is going up. So this ice is becoming water. By giving energy, by giving temperature, this ice will become water. So its state will change from solid to liquid. Now when we are giving a temperature, what will happen? The kinetic energy increases. We know that all the states particle do have kinetic energy in them. Solid vibrates at their position, liquid can move, and gaseous atoms have maximum kinetic energy. They move randomly, freely. So when we are giving energy in terms of temperature, the kinetic energy of this ice cube, of this particle of this ice cube will increase. The Ke meaning kinetic energy of this particle will increase. The particles start vibrating with greater speed. They are fixed in their position because they are in solid state. So they are vibrating, but now they are vibrating at greater speed because we are supplying energy. We are supplying more kinetic energy to that. That energy is, we are supplying temperature, we are supplying energy, and that is converting into kinetic energy. So now they are moving with greater speed, and this speed will overcome. This is very important point, that this speed of particle will overcome the force of attraction. Why they held into this ice cube? Because of force of attraction. Now when we are supplying energy, it is converting into kinetic energy. Their energy is becoming higher. So now they are vibrating at greater speed, and this, because of this speed, it will overcome the force of attraction. And the particles will leave the surface. Slowly from all the side of the ice cube, the particles will leave its surface, its original position. All the particles will leave its original position and starts moving freely. Earlier they were in the compact closed structure. Now they will start moving freely. At this point is known as melting point. Why melting point? Because solid, at this point solid is converting into liquid. So what will be the definition of melting point? At the minimum temperature, at which minimum temperature the solid will start converting into liquid at fixed atmospheric pressure is known as melting point. That definition we will see it in a detail. So this is a definition of melting point. That the minimum temperature at which solid melts to become a liquid at the atmospheric pressure is called its melting point. So we all know that we can change a state of matter via two things, by applying temperature or by applying pressure. So here we are talking about temperature effect. So we have to write that at minimum temperature at which solid melts to become a liquid, solid is converting into liquid by giving temperature. At the atmospheric pressure, that means we are not changing pressure. Whatever pressure is there in the atmosphere, it will remain the same. So we are not applying pressure, but we are giving temperature. So it is known as melting point. So here we are clearing the point that by giving a temperature, and that a minimum temperature, solid is changing into liquid. That minimum temperature is known as melting point, and it should be at the atmospheric pressure. So this is a definition of melting point. So after melting point, now we are talking about latent heat of fusion. So before discussing that, let us understand one activity, that I am heating this beaker which is filled with ice cube. I am heating this and I am continuously checking the temperature of the content in the beaker. So while I am passing a temperature, while I am giving an energy, when this ice is becoming water at certain point of time when it starts, after that this temperature change, my thermometer will not show. That means the temperature will rise until the ice will start melting. After that, the point when the ice has started melting and it has becoming liquid, until the next state will achieve that water from ice, it will become water and then it will become vapor. So when this will start, here for example it has start melting. So till now the temperature will rise, but once this has start melting, the temperature will remain constant. Even though we are giving a temperature, even though we are giving energy, we cannot see any rise of the temperature until each and every ice will melt. One more time I am explaining. When ice is becoming water, throughout I am heating it, throughout I am giving a temperature. Temperature will rise until its melting point will arrive. When we are achieving its melting point, till that time my temperature will increase. I can see that through thermometer. Now once the melting of ice will start and each and every ice will become water, my temperature will become constant. Even though I am passing an energy, even though I am giving continuously temperature, then also the temperature will remain constant. So the question is where that energy has gone, because we are passing a temperature, we are passing energy continuously. Even after reaching melting point, then temperature should increase after that, but it is not happening. So now we are discussing that why temperature is not increasing and where that energy will go. This energy, this heat, we know as a latent heat of fusion. So when ice is melting, as this heat energy, now whenever we are talking about energy here, you have to assume that the heat energy, the heat we are giving it to the beaker. As this heat energy is absorbed by ice without showing rise in the temperature. That means all the ice cubes will absorb that energy, and that energy they are utilizing and giving it to the particles, and that particle will get that energy and make themselves free and they will become water. These things we have seen while we have discussed the melting point. That we have seen that how the ice will become water. That it will overcome the force of attraction. How it will overcome the force of attraction? With the help of this energy. With the help of the increase in kinetic energy, they will overcome the force of attraction. So as this heat energy is absorbed by ice without showing rise in temperature. So we cannot see any rise in temperature. It is considered that it gets hidden into the contents of the beaker. Contents of the beaker, that means it is hidden into this, hidden into half of the water, half of the ice, because the fully ice has not been converting into the water. At this stage we are talking about this hidden energy, because still ice is converting into water, so it is utilizing that energy, but we cannot, so that's why we cannot see any change in the temperature. So this is all about a discussion of latent heat of fusion. Now we will see its definition. The amount of heat energy The energy we are talking about, that is heat. The amount of heat energy that is required to change 1 kg of solid into liquid at atmospheric pressure. Why we have to mention this atmospheric pressure? Because all this process is happening is by changing of temperature. We are not changing pressure. So that's why it is important to mention that at atmospheric pressure. At its melting point is known as latent heat of fusion. So at melting point, this is our melting point. So at melting point, whatever energy we are giving, once the melting point has reached, after that, whatever energy we are giving to dissolve 1 kg of ice, here we are talking about in general, solid. So I am explaining you with reference of ice. Once the melting point will reach, whatever energy we are giving, that energy is utilizing to dissolve 1 kg of ice into water. That energy is utilizing to melt 1 kg of solid is known as latent heat of fusion. In a simple way, if I tell you that once the ice will start melting, at this point, even if we are giving a temperature, the temperature, increase of temperature we cannot see in thermometer or wherever we are checking. Why? Because that energy the solid particles are utilizing to overcome force of attraction. That energy we call latent heat of fusion. So if you feel that this video has cleared your doubt and helped in your learning, please give us a like, subscribe my YouTube channel, learn yourself for more important videos and content. If you have any doubt, any question, or if you want to share anything, please do write us in a comment box. Now let us discuss some of the important points in latent heat of fusion. Particles of water at 0 degree centigrade have more energy as compared to particle in ice at same temperature. Why we are discussing that? Because we are comparing that in solid particles have more energy or in liquid they are having more energy. So obviously the energy level of particles in solid is less than liquid, and the energy level of liquid particle is less than gaseous particles, because here they are in a closed compact structure. Their energy level is very low. Here they have some energy, they can flow, and here we can observe a random movement of particles. They have very high energy. So particle of water at 0 degree centigrade, because this is the form of liquid, have more energy as compared to particle in ice at the same temperature. Even the temperature is same. One is water, one is ice. So definitely the particles in water will have more energy compared to the solid state. Now we will see a definition of boiling point. This is a definition. Earlier we have seen a definition of melting point. The same way we are writing definition of boiling point. The temperature at which a liquid starts boiling at atmospheric pressure is known as its boiling point. When it starts boiling, at that temperature is known as its boiling point, and it has to be at the atmospheric pressure. Then boiling is a bulk phenomena. Why is a bulk phenomena? Because whenever you are seeing that water is bubbling up into the vessel, the whole lot of water, whatever water you have taken, is together it is boiling. You cannot see that some of the water is boiling here and some of the water is still in the process of getting energy. That means it happens to the lot. Now water vapor at 100 degree centigrade have more energy than water at the same temperature. Absorb latent heat of vaporization. So what is the meaning of this? That water vapor has more energy compared to water. Obviously, this is a gaseous state and this is a liquid state. This is a gaseous state, this is a liquid state. This particle has more energy. Why? From where they got the energy? By absorbing latent heat of vaporization, they have more energy. If you will think about this, here they have absorbed latent heat of fusion. So that's why they have more energy. And here they have absorbed latent heat of vaporization. That's why they have more energy. Now let us take one quick recap of while we are changing a temperature, how the state will change and what all terms we have learned till now. So we have seen that definition of melting point and boiling point. So let us recall that when solid will convert into liquid, liquid will convert into gas. When solid is converting into liquid, it is melting. When liquid will converting into gas, it is vaporization. That we are learning. Then solid will convert into liquid when it start melting. At this temperature we known as melting point. When the ice will start melting, that temperature is known as melting point of water or ice. So now when a liquid start boiling, that temperature we known as boiling point of that liquid. Now when solid will start converting into liquid, after that whatever energy is being absorbed by the particles and particles will become free. From solid it will become liquid. So this particles are free compared to this particles. So whatever energy they are absorbing and becoming free is known as latent heat of fusion. And until all particles will become free, this will not show any temperature change. So we are saying that at 0 degrees centigrade, water particles have more energy compared to ice. Because this is a liquid, those particles are free compared to solid state. And why they are free? Which energy they have absorbed? They have absorbed latent heat of fusion. Now when we are talking about that liquid will convert into gas. That means when water is boiling, it is converting into a steam and we are seeing that it is changing its state to vaporization. So at 100 degrees centigrade, vapor has more energy compared to water particle. Which energy they are absorbing? They are absorbing latent heat of vaporization. So until all the water will go to the next state, this will not show any temperature change. Why? Because all energy is being absorbed by the water and it is converting into vapor. So vapor has more energy compared to water. Which energy they are absorbing? They are absorbing latent heat of vaporization. So all these four terms are interlinking with each other. First you can see melting point. Then after that what will start? Latent heat of fusion. Then you can see boiling point. After that what will start? The latent heat of vaporization. And 0 degree centigrade, water particle has a more energy because they are absorbing this. At 100 degree centigrade, vapor has a more energy because they are absorbing latent heat of vaporization. Change of temperature, we can change a state from solid to gas. This change is known as sublimation. Earlier we were discussing that by changing temperature, we can change a state. and we have seen so many terms: melting point, boiling point, latent heat of fusion and latent heat of vaporization. This topic is sublimation, and in this we will see that solid is directly converting into gaseous state. In earlier video we have seen that solid will convert into liquid, liquid will convert into gas. But here some of the example which we will study, some of the substance which are sublimable substance, they will convert directly to gaseous state. So when solid, by giving heat, when solid is converting into gas, it is known as sublimation. And when gas is directly converting into solid, we known as deposition. So here we will see, in this activity we will see both the term. First sublimation and then deposition. This will happen when we are giving heat. And this will happen while we are taking energy, or when this will cool down. So first we will see sublimation. So while solid to gas, when we are giving heat, so it is known as sublimation. So this is sublimation. Now here I have taken this substance. This substance is known as ammonium chloride. Ammonium chloride is a sublimable substance, and when this is arrangement of apparatus, that into this I have taken one petri dish. Petri dish is a dish in which we can heat a substance. It will not react with the substance which is we are heating. So that is petri dish. Into that I have taken ammonium chloride, and funnel I have inverted and kept on it, as no space should be opened into the air. It has to completely fit on the petri dish. And then I have put a cotton plug over here, so that whatever gaseous substance will come from this should not go out. Now when I will heat this, what will happen, that my ammonium chloride will get heated. This ammonium chloride is sublimable substance. So while giving heat, it will become gaseous substance. And as it will reach to the funnel, funnel is cool compared to the petri dish. Here I have supplying heat, so this is hot, but my funnel surface is still cool. So they will stick to the funnel surface, and again it will converting back to solid. One more time, when I am heating this, it will convert into gas. So this phenomena is sublimation. And once it is touching the surface of funnel, which is cool, then they will again converting back to the solid. So this is deposition. By doing so, my ammonium chloride will not change its chemical property. Earlier it was NH4Cl, now also it is NH4Cl. First, when I am giving heat, it will converting into vapor, and once again the heat, it will become cool, it is again regain its state, that is solid. So it is again converting into solid state, and that process is known as deposition. While becoming gas, this process is known as sublimation, and from again gaseous state will convert into solid state, that is known as deposition. So both this phenomena we can see in this activity with the help of sublimable substance only, and that is ammonium chloride. We are using naphthalene ball in our routine life. So after some time, when we are keeping it in a cupboard, after some time when we are seeing it, there is no naphthalene ball, or it has been reduced in their size. So they are directly converting into a gaseous state. That is also an example of sublimable substance. Now we are going to study interconversion of state of matter. So here in this we will study that how the three states of matter, that is solid, liquid and gas, will change into each other. So as you can see, when liquid is changing to solid and solid is changing to liquid, they both are different process, and they both processes are having a different name, because one is happening while you are increasing temperature and one is happening while you are decreasing of temperature. So these both processes are different, so they are having a different name. So you have to remember that when solid is converting into liquid, what we call it, and when liquid is converting into solid, what we call it. So here it is easy because solidification, when we call it solidification, liquid will convert into solid. It's easy. Sometimes name itself suggests that what is happening to the matter. So some names are easy and some names are new to you, that fusion, deposition, sublimation and all. But with practice you will easily remember. So here solid will convert into liquid and we call it a fusion. When solid is converting into liquid, we call it fusion, we also call it melting. Now when liquid is converting into solid, we call it solidification. So it is easy. When it is converting to solid, we call it solidification. Now we are coming to solid and gas, when they are interchanging into each other, interconverting into each other. Now first solid is converting to gas, so we know this process as a sublimation. Then when gas is converting into solid, it is deposition. Now coming to liquid and gas. When liquid is converting into gas, we know this process as vaporization. When gas is converting into liquid, this is called condensation. So when vapor is cooled down, then it is condensation of vapor. When liquid is becoming steam, it is known as vaporization. Liquid is converting into gaseous state, we know this process as a vaporization. So this is all about three states of matter and the interconversion of them into each other. Now when solid is converting into gas, while we are giving heat, while the temperature will decrease, the deposition will happen. When temperature will increase, vaporization will happen. When temperature will decrease, the condensation will happen. So this interconversion of state of matter will happen only because of the change in temperature. So if you will get a question that explain a interconversion of state of matter by effect of temperature, then you have to draw this diagram and you have to explain about it. How can we change a state by changing pressure? This topic is under CBSE Standard 9 from first chapter. So earlier we have seen the effect of temperature on a states of matter. We have seen melting point, boiling point, the latent heat of fusion, latent heat of vaporization and many more such things which were responsible to change state because of the temperature. So today we are going to learn about how a changing of pressure can change a state of matter. So first thing is, by increasing and decreasing pressure we can change a state. Just like temperature, how we are increasing temperature and water will boil and go into gaseous state, and as we are decreasing temperature water will become ice and it will be frozen. So just like that, increasing and decreasing pressure can change a state of matter. Now here we have to understand one example, that is solid carbon dioxide. It is also known as dry ice. Now why? Because solid carbon dioxide gets converted directly to gaseous state on decrease of pressure to 1 atmosphere without changing to liquid state. Now the carbon dioxide is a gas, and when we are giving pressure, when we are applying pressure and we are pressurize the gas, it is directly converting to solid state and it will become dry ice, or it will become ice, or it will become solid carbon dioxide. But when we are decreasing pressure, it is directly converting to gaseous state and not converting to liquid state. So that's why it is known as dry ice, because it is skipping the step to convert to liquid. So that's why it is known as dry ice. Earlier when we are pressurizing it, it is becoming solid, it is becoming dry ice. Now how it is converting back to gaseous state? By reducing only 1 atmospheric pressure, it is again converting to gaseous state without changing to liquid state. So this is effect of pressure on the matter of state. So here we can conclude that temperature and pressure both are responsible for the state of matter. If we are changing temperature, if we are changing pressure, so the state of matter will also change. Earlier we have seen that each state of matter possesses some kinetic energy. Yes, they do differ in the amount of energy, that is we call kinetic energy, and they are differing as solids are having a least kinetic energy, then liquid are having kinetic energy, it is less than gas but more than solid, whereas gaseous particles are having maximum amount of kinetic energy. So each state has a kinetic energy. Now when the evaporation will happen, which process we call evaporation? We know that when water, because of the temperature, when water will convert into vapor and it will absorb by the surrounded atmosphere, that we know as evaporation. But now we will see in terms of phenomena. So in liquid what will happen, that small fraction of particles at surface. So evaporation is surface phenomena. It is not a bulk phenomena like a boiling. Why? Because this happens from the surface of the water. Evaporation happens from the surface of the water. We have learned this in water cycle, that from the lake, from the river, from the pond, the evaporation of the water will happen, and that is from the surface of the water. So evaporation is a surface phenomena having higher Ke. So only particles which are lying on the surface are having higher kinetic energy compared to the other particles which are lying down. So higher kinetic energy is able to break away from the force of attraction of the other particle and gets converted into vapor. When this happens, when at the surface the temperature is high and underneath that the temperature is different. So underneath that the temperature is not as high as the surface is experiencing. So the surface particle are having more kinetic energy compared to the water which is underneath the surface. So these particles will have so much more kinetic energy that they will break the force of attraction and they will convert into vapor state. When they are breaking a bond of attraction, they will be able to change their state. So that is what is happening. And why it is happening? Because at the surface the kinetic energy level is high, and that much high that they will break the force of attraction and change their state. Again we will read this. The small fraction of particle at the surface having higher kinetic energy is able to break away from the force of attraction of other particles and get converted into vapor. So they will break their force of attraction from the other particle and they will move away in another state. So this phenomenon of change of liquid to vapor state or liquid to gaseous state at any temperature below its BP, this is very important. This temperature is not as high as its boiling point. It is lower than that, and it will happen at wide range of temperature which is below the boiling point. So is called evaporation. So when the water is evaporating, that means the surface of from the surface of the water, some of the particles, very small fraction of particles will move away. Why they will move away? Because their kinetic energy is high, and due to that they will be able to break the bond of attraction from other water particles, and they will convert it into the vapor state or gaseous state, and this whole thing will happen at the temperature which is below the boiling point of that particular liquid. Factors affecting evaporation. So there are some of the factors. If those factors will vary, it will affect evaporation. So we will learn it one by one. The first one is increase of surface area. That means if the surface area of liquid will increase, then the evaporation will become much more faster. Why? Because earlier we have studied that it is a surface phenomena, and from the surface the particles will move away because they are having higher kinetic energy compared to the particles which are lying underneath. So as the surface area will be widen enough, the evaporation rate will be faster. So as surface area will increase, the evaporation rate will also increase. This is surface area will increase and evaporation rate will also increase. So wherever here we are studying factors affecting evaporation. One example you can keep in your mind when we are keeping our clothes for drying. So when we are spreading it, the evaporation will be faster. The clothes will dry at a faster rate and it will dry sooner compared to when we are keeping it folded. So as we are increasing the surface area, the evaporation will become faster, and we know that evaporation is a surface phenomenon. So second, increase of temperature. Obviously when the temperature will increase, then the surface particle will get enough energy in small time period. So soon they will break the bond and they will move away and they will convert into gaseous state. So soon the underneath particle will also come to the surface, they will go away. This process will speed up as the temperature will become higher. So if the temperature is higher, the evaporation rate is also higher. We know that when it is a summer time, then clothes will dry faster compared to it is in the winter or in the monsoon time. So as the temperature increases, the evaporation rate will also increase. The next factor is decrease in humidity. As the humidity will decrease, the evaporation rate will be higher. If the humidity is more in the atmosphere, then there are already water droplets present in the atmosphere. So the atmospheric air will not hold more water vapor into them. So as decreasing humidity, evaporation rate will be higher. But if the humidity will increase, you can compare this with monsoon season. As in the monsoon season there is enough amount of humidity in the air, so it will take time to dry out the clothes. Why? Because there is already water vapor present into the atmosphere, so it will not withstand with that much water vapor. So decrease in humidity and evaporation rate will be higher, because when the humidity is less, the atmosphere is dry, so it will allow more and more water to become vapor and it will absorb that vapor. Now increase in wind speed. As the wind speed will increase, evaporation rate will also increase, because when the wind will come, it will take away all the water vapors from the surface of the water. It will, so the all water particles which have been converted into the water vapor will move along with the air. So the fresh air what is coming to the surface of water can take up more water vapor. So increase in wind speed will also increase the rate of evaporation. Only one, that is decrease in humidity, will increase in evaporation rate. Rest all, as the surface area increases, temperature increases and wind speed increases, the evaporation rate also will increase. This only will go opposite with the evaporation rate. Rest all will go hand in hand with evaporation rate. Today we are going to study about some of the reasons from the topic evaporation. So our first reason is, how does the evaporation cause cooling? When evaporation is happening, the atmosphere will be cooled down. So why that is happened? Because the particles of liquid absorb energy from surrounding to regain the energy lost during evaporation. What is the meaning of this? When evaporation is happening, it is a surface phenomena. They will go from liquid to gaseous state. So whatever energy they have, we know that kinetic energy of the surface particle will be higher. As they will move away, they will break the bond from other particles and they will convert to gaseous state. So while doing so, whatever energy they had, they will use it. Whatever energy they will possess, they will use it to convert into gaseous state. So now once they are converting into gaseous state, they have used all the energy whatever they were possessing. So now to regain its energy, see here, it is regain. Now to regain all those energy whatever they have used and they have lost in this interconversion of state, they will take up from the atmosphere. And as they are taking energy from the atmosphere will become cooled down. So the surrounded atmosphere where the evaporation is happening will become cool, as this particle will take and or absorb the energy from the atmosphere. So the particles of liquid absorb the energy from surrounding to regain the energy lost during absorption. We know that solid particles are having very less energy and liquids are having more energy, and compared to that gaseous atoms are having maximum energy. So if they want to change a state from solid to liquid, they want energy. From liquid to gaseous state, they again want some more energy, because these states are they are possessing more kinetic energy compared to the later one. So they will use this energy and change its state. Now whatever energy they have lost, they want to regain it. So they will absorb from the atmosphere. By doing so, our atmosphere will become cool. So this absorption of energy from the surrounding make the surrounding cold. So the heat from the surrounding will be absorbed by the particles. So the surrounding will become cool. Second reason, Why should we wear cotton clothes in summer? So in summer we perspire more, liquid absorb more energy from body and it will become vapor. So whatever the atmospheric liquid, whatever atmospheric moisture will be there, it will absorb the energy from the body and they will become vapor. So liquid will convert into gaseous state here, and from where it will get the energy? From the heat of the body. So here what will happen? Which process will happen? That heat energy will equal to latent heat of vaporization. So whatever heat energy is there in the body will be equal to the latent heat of vaporization. So atmospheric moisture will convert into vapor. So now while we are wearing a cotton clothes which are a good absorber and it will absorb all the sweat, and this clothes will absorb the sweat and exposing it to air or atmosphere. So the temperature will cool down and this evaporation will give us a cooling effect. So that we have to wear, or we are wearing cotton clothes in the summer. So as we perspire more, it will absorb more and it is exposing it to air. So this evaporation will help us to keep our body cool. Let us see our third reason. That why do we see water droplets on the water surface of a glass containing ice cold water? So that means when our glass is filled with a chilled water, at that time we can see a water droplets on the surface of it. So what will happen? That water vapor present in the air will loses energy when it is coming in contact with cold glass. So our glass surface is cold. So when this atmospheric moisture which is in the gaseous state will come in contact with this, it will lose energy and converting into liquid. Till now we were discussing that it will gain energy and converting into gaseous state, because solid has least energy, liquid is in between, and gaseous state has maximum amount of energy. So when a gaseous state is converting into liquid, it has to lose some energy to gain the liquid state, because kinetic energy of gaseous atoms are higher than kinetic energy of liquid. So it has to lose some energy. So when it is coming in contact with a cold surface, it will lose energy and convert its state to liquid. So by losing energy, gaseous atoms will convert to liquid atoms. So this, we also know this as a condensation process. When we were discussing interconversion of the state of matter, we have discussed that when gaseous state is converting into liquid, that process is known as condensation. So that is what exactly is happening over here. Atmospheric moisture will cool down and converting into liquid. So that's why we can see a water particle on the surface of a cold glass.